Welcome, listeners, to another episode of The Table, Faith, Community, and Purpose. And I am your host and moderator, Scott Thompson. And just to recap, our last episode, we had Miss J. Ross, owner of the Bon Air Restaurant and Lounge. And she gave us a really inspiring testimony and story of overcoming the adversities in life. And so we definitely received a lot of inspiration from that. And on this episode today, I am really thrilled and honored to be able to have my four sons joining us here for this conversation. Hopefully at the end of this conversation, you'll get some insight into legacy, the importance of family, and again, how faith, community, and purpose, how that all kind of plays together. And I'm going to introduce these young men. Starting here on my left is Scott Brian Thompson Jr. And Scott is 17 years old. Next to him, he's the baby boy, by the way. Next to him is the oldest, Nicholas Scott Thompson. And Nick, 36, is that right? We just had a birthday, 36. All right. To my right, we have Wesley Scott Thompson. And Wesley will be 34 next month. All right. I'm getting it together. I mean, it's a lot to try to recall there. And then lastly, we have Kyler Scott Thompson. And Kyler is 25. So we see the range from 17 to 36. And so I definitely have learned a lot during that particular time in that gap has taught me. But if there's one word that is kind of describes or characterize how I am feeling today, and that one word is favored, right? And why I choose that word, it's seeing something that I dreamed about having many years ago come to fruition, not only with this podcast, but to be able to sit down with my sons here at the table. You know, if you go back over your life, it could even be something that's going on as we speak. If we could just share a time when our faith was really tested and how we were able to overcome it. And that's really, I think, for our listeners, that is, if there's nothing else you get out of it, that is the main thing that I would hope comes out of this whole thing, is that you get some inspiration, that you get some ideas to further explore and delve into. When I think about a time that where my faith was really tested, it would have had to been in starting my business. And I was, for the audience, I was in corporate America for 33 years. I had a pretty comfortable job, made decent coin, right? It was a pretty good, I hate calling it a gig, right? But it was a nice job. It provided for my family, allowed me to keep a roof over the head and food on the table. But I knew there was something a little bit more, and it started being uncomfortable to be there because I outgrew it. And so I started the business, and I can remember the first 60 days after I got everything in place, I had one client, and I was making $600 a month from one client for the first 60 days. And at this point, I had spent a lot of money getting my vehicle and going through all the credentialing process. And I can remember my wife, and we'd had conversations, and oftentimes it would end in, well, man, I see, a lot of money, I know a lot of money has been spent to make this happen, but, it's not seeming like, like when is this going to take off? And so, and that wasn't her doubting. We just had honest conversations, right? Because it didn't initially appear like it was going to come to fruition. I never doubted it though, but my faith was tested because there was times where I even had to ask myself, like, okay, God, it's been a couple months. It's not, when are these clients going to start happening? And pretty much everything that's been said here about faith, I had to draw back on those things, right? I had to stay with it no matter what the case was, because one thing that I knew was God gave me the vision. And if he's going to give me the vision for it, then he's responsible for overseeing that and that it work out. I just have to be steadfast and faithful to ride this thing out. And here we are 6 years later, and I can say that it has exceeded everything that I could have ever imagined. But that was my example of and I've got several examples, but that was for me an example of where my faith felt tested. And again, how I overcame that, I just stayed with it and continued to be, I persevered through it, right? And until it finally came through. Anybody else want to take a stab at that particular question about their faith being tested and how they overcame it?
My bad. The one thing that I had to learn in the process is I had to get out of my own way. He's a wonderful God and he's a giving God, but if I'm blocking my blessings, if I'm doing everything under the sun to not get out of my jam, it's going to be pretty hard to get out of that jam, no matter how high your faith is. So, one day, just plain simply, just laying on the couch day after day, soaking on my sorrows, I just decided I had enough of this life that I did not like. And it wasn't overnight, but just got off the couch, got a job. That job led into another business and another career, and material things mean absolutely nothing. But at the end of the day, if I didn't get up off the couch, who knows where I would be at today. And I knew I was hindering myself, no matter how you want to spin it. I knew I was blocking my own blessings, which could put a umbrella on my faith, but I decided to get out of my own way. So that was
man, I love that you shared that example and the vulnerability that comes with that, right? And you had to get off the couch, and in life a lot of times will give you I'm not going to call it a knockout blow, but it'll give you a knockdown blow. And so you're on the mat. But what, I heard you say was, but you decided to get back up and stay in the fight, because it's not even a matter of if life is going to deal blows to you. If you live, you're going to deal with blows. You're going to get the wind knocked out of you. But you have to stay in the fight. Even if you feel like I can't even swing that strong right now, you just keep getting back up. And I'll bring this up because we talked about this on the last episode with Jay, and she shared about how obstacles all the obstacles that she had to overcome in her life, just like the obstacle with going through divorce. And I'll share with our listeners again and reiterate it here with my sons that it's the obstacles don't block your path to life. The obstacles are the path to life. The only way you get to where you want to go in life, you have to go through those obstacles. So that would be something that I would encourage our listeners to just to be mindful of, to embrace, because you're going through it. You either just came out of something, you're in the middle of it right now, or I promise you, you're going to be going through it next week or next month. That's what's going to happen. But you got up off the couch, you get up off the mat, and you stay in the fight. Anybody else have a time they'd like to share about being tested?
I'll go next. Still gathering everything, but this is something I'm currently going through right now. But being the oldest brother, I always look at it like I have to do more. I gotta do more. I gotta be a better example of my brothers. From Wesley graduating college a few weeks after me, Kyler graduating, getting his master's, and then Scotty about to go on and get his doctorate when he ever goes to college. But I'm okay in life, but a lot of times I'm lazy and I'm complacent and I don't really like changes. And like Wesley, I was married to, got divorced, and since my divorce, me and relationships ain't really been a good thing, but I was using that as an excuse to like run from the honest truth of myself, of me being complacent and lazy and just sitting back. With all of that, I always had my faith of everything's gonna be cool for me. Eventually I'll be all right. But just like I said, what I'm going through currently today with my job situation, I work with Columbus City Schools and I do special needs, and I work with MD students that are nonverbal and autistic. You name it, I work with it. And right now I'm an instructional aide, but I've been doing that for 8 years now, going on year 9, and that's been a very, very testful, faithful thing. But sitting back, like I just kind of fast forward and everything, and I haven't really discussed it with everyone, but my faith over the years, every school year, is like, I want to make this leap of faith, but I'm scared. I'm too complacent. I don't like changes and all that. And kind of like Wesley, as soon as the school year started, I was just in class and randomly was like, let me stop being lazy. I done been here long enough. What's the worst that could happen? Kind of what we was talking about with faith. Like, there's nothing really bad that can come from this. It's only nothing but good. And I gotta put more faith into God in this situation instead of being scared or being complacent and being scared of change. But right now I'm going through the process of getting my master's degree at Capital University and getting my teaching license by 2028, before 2028. And doing that, it still isn't a line of me getting my student loans paid off. So not only am I going to get my student loans paid off, I'm going to walk out of there with a master's degree and my teaching license, to not only teach in the state of Ohio, but to teach anywhere in America.
Awesome.
And along faith, I was scared, complacent, because I'm like, I really don't like change. I'm just running away from stuff. But like I said, what Wesley said, I just woke up one day and was like, I'm tired of this. Like, I got to make this change, and I got faith that this change is going to be beneficial for me, so let's just do it.
Absolutely. And Nick, I certainly appreciate your, again, your transparency, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I heard a lot of accountability that took place in there, and I thought you were getting ready to go down another path, but the path that I thought you were going to go down was about, and again, with having multiple siblings, I think sometimes, and it's not even so much the competitiveness that takes place. But I think when you have brothers and sisters, sometimes you can find yourself in positions of comparison, right? Where you start looking at your life and say, well, hey, he's further along than where I feel like I should be at as the big brother, or vice versa, or he's not doing well, and you just took some ownership, is what I hear, that, hey, I've had these things happen in life, but I've got to look in the mirror, right? And I've got to make some of those fine-tuned adjustments in my life, right? Because everybody's path is a little bit different, right? And so I'll give Kyler and Scotty a chance if they want to share.
I would say the biggest time will probably be my second semester, my freshman year of college. Being on my own for the first time. Had an apartment with my boys, whatever, off to college. I was just doing things that just wasn't really in my character, I would say. And I wouldn't say necessarily, it kind of is what it is, but, sheltered for 18 years. Both of my parents, when you have parents that care, they're not going to let you do whatever. You're not going to come in the house at 2 in the morning. You're not going to do whatever you want to do, per se. When you're out, what are you doing, right? So when I get to my own, my first semester, do good, but, you're first starting in college, so it's like you want to do good, so you're focused. Second semester, just started doing stuff that just wasn't me. Wrong crowds, I guess, friends and stuff. And then you just kind of realize one day you just wake up and realize, like, this is me. Like, I make these decisions on this. So, like, when you're on your own, you can't really blame anybody. So, when you can't blame anybody, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, this was my doing. So getting away from that, realizing this is not what I want to do, right? I'm my mom's only child. Like, I can't fail her. And the things that I was doing, and even failing you in general, my brothers, everybody, like that wasn't an option. So you just had to make that change. I never told y'all, but it's over now because I got my degrees, but that second semester in college, like, I did terrible. Like, I was supposed to go to main campus, and I didn't because I was doing what I wanted to do, essentially, and not taking stuff serious. So then I had to come back for another semester and commute. That was a 45-minute drive there and back, and I'm like, I'm doing all this because of my actions that I did while I was down there. So just taking accountability and realizing on the weekends, like, I need to come back home and come work instead of staying down there for the weekend and doing whatever everybody else is doing. And then you just realize, too, some of your peers sometimes, as much as you love them, you want to be around them, you can't. They're just not doing the same thing as you. So.
Awesome. As a father, there are things, one, your kids, right? If you've ever invested in your children, in their lives, right, you know what they're dealing with. Even if you don't know all of the individual specifics, you kind of have a general feeling, right? If I get a phone call from any of them, or talking, like, I can just know from their voice where their head space is at, right? And you were finding your way, and part of that maturation process was you deviated off the path of what you knew, right? Because you had freedom for the first time. As you mentioned, you couldn't, your mom was not going to allow you to do whatever you wanted to do. That wasn't going to take place. Your dad was not going to just stand by and let you just wow out and do those things. So there was accountability there. But so for the first time as a young adult having freedom, you started branching there. But because you had root that was in you, you were able to come back to that place. Scotty,
So I'm young, so like I don't have like that many things to nah, but like I don't have that many things to go off of for like when my faith was tested. But the best I can think of is last year in April when my pawpaw died.
Mm.
Like me and him weren't like super close, you know, but like I don't know, it kind of hit home for me because of Grandma Millie. You know, she didn't have Alzheimer's or, you know, cancer or anything, but like it just made me think like, you know, like life, like you don't know when it's gonna be over. So like
Boy.
and like so his death kind of hit me hard, and you know I was sad for like a few weeks, but then I came to a realization like I was just because at the time I wasn't like I wouldn't say it like I was just abusing Grandma Millie, but it's not like I was treating her the best that I could, you know. So like I just came to the realization like, okay, who knows how long she has left or whatever. Like I'm gonna try and treat her the best that I can, make her days as good as possible while I still can, you know. And so I mean, yeah, that's really all I got. You know.
No, that's you hit on a lot of different things, right? And you know, you understood through the death of your grandpa, right? That just the frailty of life and the uncertainty of none of us know the day or the hour, right? And for our listeners, so Scotty is still, of course, at home, and my mother, his grandmother that he references, she's been living with us for the last 5 years, right? And it's challenging. It's challenging for her, and it's challenging for all of us because we're still learning and trying to figure out how to make it all kind of, you know, work. And so no, that is there's a lot. I'm not even going to go down that path because we'll end up spending the rest of our time here on that. But definitely, Scotty, appreciate you sharing that. And just to make it a lighter note, I often will share with my friends, you know, because again, as I mentioned, Scotty is 17, the youngest. Nick, my oldest, at 36, and then soon to be 34, Wesley, and 25 for Kyler. And it's just so funny how life has really changed, and it's been different for all four of them, right? There's all four different dynamics. They have different, you know, they have different mothers. Nick and Wes have the same mom, but then, you know, Scotty's mom, you know, my wife and Kyler's mom, you know, they have different lives, a different life, a different experience. And I, you know, I'm sure there's a listener out there that can relate to this because, you know, the dad that I am today, you know, with Scotty at 17, even though I'm the same person, I was in a different space than when Nick and Wes were born. I was in a different space than when Kyler was born. So those things, you know, they all kind of come into play. And I do want to just give that encouragement maybe to some that might be listening that you still can make it all work. And one of the things that I have always had the just great pride and pleasure in is having all of my sons to look at each other as brothers. We don't do this half-brother stuff, you know, even though they come from, they have different mothers. We are one unit, you know, this is a unit, you know, and I lost my train of thought. I was going to say, just to make it end on a lighter note, Scotty, I share with my friends, the roughest day that Scotty's had in his life, aside from his pawpaw passing, was when the internet goes down, right? That's that's a bad day for him, right? If he doesn't have access to his phone, that's a horrible day for him. So anyway, I wanted to end on that note. And I just wanted to dive into just talking about community, because we said that we are a unit. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. It really just kind of, I had a few more questions, but one that I just wanted to ask, how do you see, when we think about community, like how do you see our family, what we have here as a community? Like what are, and it's intentionally kind of vague, but just when you think about our family as a community, how do you see that?
I mean, kind of like you said, like we're like all one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I didn't even like know like half brothers was a thing until like I got to until I got to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I mean, we're brothers.
Right.
But I think like I see us as a community. Like I could call on any of y'all for anything, right? And like I know that y'all will be there. And then even beyond y'all, like I worked with Miss Trish for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like it's just like a real strong bond.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You have it's a support system. It's a
village.
It's a village.
Yeah, I would say I'm a little bit in my walks of life. People that are around me on the daily would say sometimes I'm a bit over the top, or I'm aggressive, or whatever word you want to put with it. But what it simply comes down to is
jerk.
But what it comes down to, really, honestly, I mean, it is just our community and how just simply is what it is. Not that we're no better than nobody, but just that in your own walks of life, you've always been a cool guy. You've had this, that, and the third going for yourself. Kyler, you're a young man. You've always, you're 25 with a master's degree. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. Nick, you've always been the top of your game. You know, you've always had your niche for your crowd and what you're like. You've just always been that guy in that field. And Scotty, you're still going up. But what I'm getting at is our community. We all have something that we all bring differently to the table. And then with all that being said, we all still think about our community in the back of our mind. Like, it bothers me sometimes how much Nick cares about the world and everyone around him and everything else, but that's who he is. Like, that's what makes him his person. But with us as a community, I mean, we all have roles. We all have something that we can bring to the table. We all... I would like to think that we all enjoy, like, I love coming together doing anything family because we're all we have. And so as a community, just like Scotty said, like, I don't never put words or titles with it per se, but just like Scotty said, like, my birth mother, I mean, hangs out and does things like, granted, she's my stepmom, but your birth mother is like, we don't never, I don't know, it's like we never did the half and the step into so just my mom, it's my dad, it's we're just different in a good way. So
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to piggyback off that too. Just like, I think our family problems, like if somebody has an issue with somebody or something, I think it just comes out of a place of care, right? I think a lot of times when you look outside of family stuff, like I see other families now, you see if a funeral happens, they're arguing over money, who gets what. I mean, and every family has their own problems and stuff of that nature, but just in terms of our community, I think if somebody's frustrated with somebody or if we're not seeing eye to eye or something right now, I think it's just more in terms of like, because we care. You know, sometimes it may not be the best way to show it, but at the same time, it's because we care. We want you to do better, or we want to see eye to eye or something. So I think that's just what makes our stuff a little different. Is just the care aspect, you know.
Awesome. Wow. But a lot of thoughts kind of going through, swirling around in my head. One is just a picture that and it actually came to me. It came to me maybe, I don't know, a couple years ago, but it's been intensifying, and that's like a future state of community, right? Of family, and that picture that I have is, and I'm putting this out to you all as a challenge to find a way to make it happen, because we all will play a role in it. And the challenge is, I would like, and I'm just planting the seeds here for you, I would love for us to have, I'm gonna say the word compound, but in a more positive sense, like I would love for all of us as a family to live together, whether that just be on some acreage and we all have our own individual places, or we find a way to make one big house. But that is that's something that has really, it's been marinating inside of my spirit, and again, it's been picking up momentum and speed to really make that happen, partly because of something that was brought up earlier, right? Is mortality. I mean, I'm 58. I certainly have more years behind me than what I have ahead of me. Not saying I couldn't live to be 116, but that would be a big ask. But I would love for us to find a way, and I say us, to find a way, working together through collaboration, to make that happen, to make that a reality. So I just we'll plant that seed in you, and then we'll see what happens. And then just kind of lastly, purpose. When I say like living on purpose, what does that mean to you? Nick, what does living with purpose mean to you?
To just throw out a scenario out there, fresh out of college, my degree is a Bachelor of Science with a focus of sports management. Nothing to do with kids or education whatsoever. But my entire life, everybody's been telling me, Nick, you're great with kids. Nick, you're good with kids. You need to find some way to work with kids. And while I was in college, I used to come back over the summer, and me and Wesley would work for Columbus Parks and Recs. And randomly, for whatever reason, they put me all the way up north at Linden Rec Center. And that's too far north for me, and Kyler will attest to it. There is a family there, a family named the Quins. And to this day, Quintel, Kenyatta, and little Alexander, those three kids literally made me like, I gotta do more. I have to figure out some way to work with kids and make this work for me. The financial aspect is okay, but find something with a purpose that makes me smile and makes me want to go to work, and not use PTO to call off or find an excuse to avoid work. Find something that helps me do that, and working with Columbus Parks and Recs helped me realize that goal. Now, I wish I could have went a little bit more serious in my field, or even with Parks and Recs, and tried to do something with that. But like we said earlier, God gives us paths and obstacles in our life to put us on a specific path, and He's just trying to see, hey, are you going to maintain and stay on this path and keep the faith that where I'm guiding you is the right way? But for me, so far this has been my right way. Like I said, I'm going through to get my master's degree because it's like I can do more with this. How I work with the kids and how they respond to me. I wish I wasn't complacent and lazy 10 plus years ago, because I could have then did all of this and further ahead. But that's the thing called life.
Absolutely. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? And so Wesley alluded earlier about Nick and his passion, right? How he loves and feels for kids, and you even reiterated it. And I can remember a time when they were both in college at the same time, and so that was your path and passion. I can tell you what is not their passion or their purpose, and that's manual labor. They worked at 2 Men in a Truck, I think, for 48 hours. It was not a week. It was about 2 days.
2 days.
And they came home. I'll never forget. They came home over the house one day, and they were smelling because they were sweaty. And I think all they did is sleep. They didn't even eat. But manual labor is not their strong suit. So I'm sorry. I couldn't resist bringing that up. But again, living with purpose. And for me, that's God's plan for your life. And Nick, you found it, or in the process, right, of discovering it. Me starting the business, it's servanthood. That's my purpose, right? And when I was in corporate America, I would always be the one to volunteer to do Habitat for Humanity. Later on, I did a lot of personal outreach, feeding the homeless, and that was a thing. And so even the business now with transportation, it's serving though, and it's getting them to where they need to go. And anybody else want to just chime in on that before we close out?
Living with purpose to me kind of sums up a lot of the things that we were talking about today. No matter where you are at in your walk of life, I believe our purposes are constantly changing. My purpose on life yesterday is a little bit different than last week and vice versa. With me in particular, I wear several hats, and in this moment, I might need to be the best father I can be. In this various moment, I might need to, be a good friend, listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or whatever the case may be. Not to go deep off the path or anything, but my personal, right now I believe I'm in the middle of my purpose. I believe that I am in the middle of figuring out my true calling, and what I'm getting at with that is every day I'm excited about this. Every day I'm excited about that. Some new challenges and new obstacles, but I know that I am here to help, and I'm here to serve. What does that consist of? I can't tell you that right now. Just a little bit of thing about me. I love money and nice things, and what I believe my true calling is, long story short, I don't see the financial gain in that aspect, so I'm trying to find a happy medium with both of those two. But this is plain and simply, I just think just the purpose of life is just to wake up every day and just make today better than yesterday. Whatever that consists of.
That is an awesome goal to have every day, right? And I want you men to understand, one, how proud I am to be your fathers. You all have your own personalities, and it's so beautiful because there is a piece of me in every one of you, right? I see parts of me in every one of your personalities, but I am proud of the men that you have become and continue to be, the stand-up men that you are. You love the Lord. You've achieved some things that a lot of people don't achieve. You're all college graduates, one that will soon be headed to college, but certainly is on a high trajectory to accomplish that. And I want to make sure you understand this one thing. You are the only 4 people on this earth that I can honestly say my desire is for them to be better than me. There's not another person in this world that I could say that about than the 4 of you. And so I look forward to that, to see how your lives continue to grow. And for our listeners out there, my hope is that you find some pieces of some things that were said that can stimulate maybe some conversation with your children, or even in your own lives, find ways to propel you to go out and do some of the things that you've set out to do. And then just lastly, I just want to close on just this one short scripture, which is from it's my favorite scripture in the Bible. It's taken from Proverbs 13 and 22, and it just simply says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And I want my legacy, I want the inheritance that I leave all of you to be one of honoring God first and foremost, and then loving family. Those are the 2 things that I would ask. Family and friends, thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, God bless.